Before the story begins, take a second to subscribe. Not for drama, but because some stories deserve to be heard all the way through. This is one of them. Christmas was supposed to be quiet this year. No parties. No guests. Just my wife, Emily, and me in the house we'd spent 7 years building a life inside. At least that's what I thought. 3 days before Christmas Eve, she sat across from me at the kitchen table, scrolling on her phone, barely looking up when she said it. "I'm spending Christmas with my real family this year." She said it casually, like she was telling me she'd picked up milk on the way home. I waited for the rest of the sentence. There wasn't one. I asked what she meant by real family, even though I already knew. She sighed, annoyed, as if I'd forced her to explain something obvious. Her parents. Her sisters. Her cousins. The people she laughed with effortlessly. The people she said I made things awkward around. "You wouldn't enjoy it anyway," she added. "You never really fit in." That word stayed with me. Fit. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her that we were married. That Christmas used to mean something. That I had already taken time off work. I just nodded and went back to washing the mug in my hand, even though it was already clean. She left on Christmas Eve morning. Packed light. No hug. No "I'll miss you." Just a distracted "see you after." As if she were stepping out to run errands, not choosing an entire holiday without me. The house felt different the moment the door closed. Not lonely. Quiet in a way that felt honest. That night I made myself dinner. Nothing special. Ate it standing up. The TV stayed off. I didn't want noise filling the space where clarity had finally settled in. I checked my phone once. No message from her. I wasn't surprised. Christmas morning came and went. No call. No photo. No "Merry Christmas." Around noon she posted a picture online. Big table. Smiling faces. Matching pajamas. The caption read, "Home with my real family." I stared at it longer than I should have. That's when something in me finally shifted. Not with anger, not with sadness, but with certainty. I wasn't being excluded by accident. I had been replaced emotionally, quietly, over time, until my presence had become optional. By the evening, the decision was already made. I opened my laptop, booked a one-way ticket. Not to punish her. Not to prove a point. But because staying had started to feel like permission. I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and slept better than I had in months. I woke up early the next morning before the sun. The house was cold, not from the weather, but from how empty it felt once you stopped pretending it was full. I made coffee and drank it slowly at the kitchen counter, standing in the same spot where Emily had told me I didn't fit. Funny how places remember words. I didn't rush. There was no urgency anymore. When you finally stop waiting for someone to choose you, time changes shape. I packed a single suitcase. Clothes I actually wore. Books I'd already read twice. Things that were mine, not things we'd accumulated together out of habit. I left the rest exactly where it was. The house deserved to look lived in by the person who wanted to live there. Before leaving, I walked through each room once. Not dramatically, just observantly. The guest room we never used. The couch where we'd sat next to each other, scrolling separate lives on separate screens. Our bedroom, perfectly made, untouched. I realized then that intimacy doesn't disappear all at once. It leaves in pieces until one day you're sharing space but not a life. At the airport, I turned my phone off. Not because I expected her to call, but because I didn't want the option of hoping. Hope in the wrong place can keep you stuck longer than fear ever will. The flight was full. Families heading home. Couples holding hands. I watched them without bitterness. Once upon a time that was us too, or at least the version of us I believed in. When I landed, I checked into a small hotel near the coast. Nothing fancy. Clean. Quiet. Anonymous. I stood on the balcony that night and listened to the waves crash into the dark, repetitive and honest. They didn't pretend to be calm when they weren't. 2 days later, I turned my phone back on. There were messages. Not many. Few from work. 1 from my sister wishing me a Merry Christmas. And 3 from Emily. The first was sent late Christmas night. "Are you okay? You didn't text all day." The second came the next morning. "Where are you? The house is empty." The third arrived an hour later. "This isn't funny. Call me." I read them without rushing. Without satisfaction. Without guilt. She wasn't worried because she missed me. She was worried because I'd broken a pattern without asking permission. I didn't reply immediately. I went for a walk along the beach instead, barefoot in the sand, phone in my pocket. For the first time in years, my absence belonged to me. When I finally sat down and typed a response, it was short, honest, calm. I went somewhere I'm wanted. I turned the phone face down and let the tide erase my footprints. Emily called that night. I let it ring until it stopped. Not out of spite, out of clarity. Some conversations only reopen doors you've already walked through. The next morning, another message came through. Longer this time. Apologetic in tone but careful in wording. She said she hadn't meant it the way it sounded. That real family didn't mean I wasn't family. That she just needed space. Time. Perspective. All the usual words people use when they want the comfort of return without the responsibility of change. I didn't answer right away. I sat in a cafe overlooking the water and watched strangers live small moments that mattered only to them. A man teaching his daughter how to stir sugar into her drink. An older couple sharing one pastry. No explanations. No negotiations. Just presence. That's when I understood something I hadn't allowed myself to before. I wasn't leaving because she chose her family over me. I was leaving because she'd been choosing not me for a long time. And I'd been accepting it quietly, calling it love. I replied later that day. I'm not angry. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just finally listened to what you were telling me with your actions. She called again. I didn't pick up. A week passed. Then another. The messages slowed. The questions changed. From, where are you? To, are you coming back? And finally to, I didn't think you'd actually leave. That one made me pause. Not because it hurt, but because it explained everything. She never thought I would leave. She never thought my silence meant anything other than patience. She mistook my loyalty for permanence. My restraint for weakness. And maybe that was my fault too. For teaching her that I'd stay no matter how small I was made to feel. I checked out of the hotel and moved into a small apartment a few blocks inland. Nothing permanent. Just enough. I started waking up early. Running again. Reading without distraction. Talking to people who didn't know me as someone's husband, someone's disappointment, someone who didn't fit. On New Year's morning, I deleted the photo of us from my phone. Not because I wanted to erase the past, but because I didn't need to carry proof of it anymore. Freedom didn't feel loud. It didn't feel triumphant. It felt quiet. Earned. Like finally exhaling after holding your breath for years without realizing it. She spent Christmas with her real family. I chose a one-way path to something real for myself. And for the first time in a long while, that was enough.